These days, everything is toxic. Everything is somehow linked to cancer. With so many dangers, it's hard to know which ones to actually look out for. Today, though, I want to talk about one that's flashed up on my radar more than once, and from sources I'm inclined to trust. It's good old-fashioned vegetable oil, from the biochemical and nutritional to the things we do that nourish our minds and our souls. I'm Brendan Fallon. To start with, what is vegetable oil? It's oil made from vegetables or plants, right? Or so you'd think, but it's actually not. The most common vegetable oils are made from seeds, some which are edible and some which aren't. Edible vegetable seeds produce oils like corn, soy, peanut, and sunflower oils. The inedible seeds produce canola, cottonseed, and safflower oils. Of course, the name vegetable oil is more marketable than seed oil. People expect they're getting something healthy, but that idea is largely misleading. These seed oils are high in polyunsaturated fat, so they are prone to oxidization. This leads us into Dr. Joseph McCullough's breakdown on what seed and vegetable oils do to the body. Dr. McCullough is a natural health physician and a doctor of osteopathy.
So another one that's really, really important is reducing omega-6 fat in your diet, or commonly known as seed oils or vegetable oils. 1%, ideally 150 years ago, around 1860 or so, we only had less than 2%, in some cases 1% of the total calories of the diet were seed oils. But in 1860, we obtained, our culture as a whole obtained the ability to industrially process and convert these seed oils, these seeds, and primarily seeds, but nuts too, into oils. And that is just a prescription for disaster. Because, as I said, we had 1 to 2% of the total calories at that time was vegetable, these omega-6 fats, and the specific fatty acid is linoleic acid, which is dangerous. Now it's like 20%, 25% of the total calories are this omega-6 fat. And so why is that important? It makes sugar look like a good guy, because sugar, obviously you don't want to have high amounts of sugar, but carbohydrates by themselves are not intrinsically evil or bad. They're required by most people. Now, when you go on a low-carb diet, that can help this metabolic inflexibility I mentioned that earlier, but you don't want to go on a low-carb diet for the rest of your life. You need carbs. So sugar is not intrinsically evil. Well, however, seed oils are. Sugar, once you eat it, is metabolized really quickly, typically within hours, sometimes a day or two. The metabolic consequences are totally resolved, unless you continue to eat it, of course. But when you swallow a seed oil, that seed oil is integrated into your cell membranes and stays there. It's not completely eliminated for 7 years.
Wow.
7 years. And why is this an issue? Because once it's in your system, it's kind of like tinder. If you've ever started a fire, you need tinder. It's kindling, and it's the fuel for the fire. And then when you're exposed to the matches like excess iron in your body, that combination just radically accelerates oxidative stress, which creates these free radicals, which damages your stem cells, your cell membranes, your mitochondria, your DNA, and it's just clearly what leads to all these chronic degenerative diseases, and radically impairs your body's ability to self-regulate and improve or increase its resiliency.
It's like the fire.
Yeah, it's an absolute fire. The recipe is stored in your tissue, and it serves as that fire that catalyzes the reaction on those fatty acids that are integrated into your cell membranes and tissues when you're eating lots of omega-6 fats as seed oils. And where are the seed oils? They're in a wide variety of foods. The number one source in the United States is chicken and pork, and I know that sounds odd. That is because we've essentially bastardized the production of meat, most meat in the United States. And when you have monogastric animals that only have one stomach, like chicken and pork, when they're fed grains, which are really high in this linoleic acid, they will bioaccumulate those, and they have like 20 to 30% of linoleic acid. You only want to eat food with way less than 5%. So those are the most common sources. But obviously, any processed foods, a lot of health experts believe that and claim that lowering the sugar is the way to get healthy. Well, and then they say avoid processed foods. Right? I absolutely agree with, or ultra processed foods even. But when you look at almost all processed foods, there's a lot more seed oils than there are sugar. So typically they're villainizing the sugar and they're ignoring the seed oils. So it's much more dangerous than most physicians understand or are aware of. So avoid all processed foods, avoid all vegetable oils, corn, canola, safflower, sunflower. These are all things that should be avoided. When you go to a restaurant, anything that's fried, it just frying a food in a seed oil just makes it exponentially worse. One of the worst foods on the planet are French fries, donuts, because you could make a healthy French fry if you use, and McDonald's they used beef tallow until a campaign was directed towards them, I think in the 70s, it might have been the 80s, and they forced them essentially to switch to seed oils because they were diluted with the false belief that vegetable oils were healthy for you, when they are actually the culprit of the reason we have heart disease. Prior to 1900, you could count on one hand the number of heart attacks we had in the United States. One hand, prior to 1900. Now it's the #1 cause of death in the United States. How could that change in 140 years?
So oxidation, as Dr. McCullough points out, is one issue with seed or vegetable oils. Their high level of refinement is another. Many of the vegetable cooking oils you see on the shelf have been refined. This can involve many industrial chemicals and processes. To start with, the oil must be extracted using a solvent. Hexane, which is a crude oil solvent, is often used for this. Yet as hexane separates oil from vegetable and seed pulps, it can leave behind hexane residues. Marina Jung writes about this in an article on vegetable oils, possible link to cancer. Marina is a health writer for Epoch Times. Alongside oil extraction using hexane, she also mentions the bleaching and deodorizing that is used. This is to improve the look and flavor of the oil. However, deodorizing is known to form trans-unsaturated fats, which are the worst fats to consume. Deodorizing can also cause glycidol, a known carcinogen, to form. The widespread switch from cooking with animal fats like lard and butter to cooking with so-called vegetable oil runs back to the 1950s. Research at the time signaled this would lower cholesterol and the rate of heart attacks. However, if we look at later studies, we see a trend of higher mortality overall for those trading animal fats for vegetable oil. And cancer is often the reason for these deaths. So it may be time to reconsider your cooking oil. I hear good things about macadamia oil and extra virgin olive oil. That's something we can look at for a future episode. This no-holds-barred look at vegetable oil is part of my Body Revive Detox series for Vital Signs. What can we take out or put into the body to keep it functioning at its prime? NAC Super Antioxidant and Key to Cure both offer some answers to that. I'll leave the links in the description. This is Vital Signs, and I'm Brendan Fallon.